Are you interested in building a new home, but having a hard time deciding between raw land and a lot in a subdivision? I'm Nick Belmore, a realtor serving the West Michigan area, and I specialize in helping buyers find the right home for them, whether it's new construction or a pre-owned home. I also started off in the construction business before real estate, so I have a good idea of the process that goes into building your dream home. Okay, let's get to the fun stuff. Here's some important points when comparing raw land versus a lot in a subdivision. Number one is lifestyle. There's no question when we look at the two, there can be very big contrasts in lifestyle. Let's start at some of the features that we typically see when people are interested in developing raw land. One of the big features for a lot of people is the fact that raw land can typically be a little bit bigger lot than our typical subdivisions are. Another thing that can be important for people is the fact that it could also be wooded when it comes to raw land. So knowing what lifestyle you're looking for is definitely going to help when making that decision. Do you want to be a little more tucked away and secluded? Or is it more important to have a thriving community around you? A few of the things that draw people into lots and subdivisions is actually the community. Having neighbors close, having community amenities and associations can be a big draw for some buyers. Some of the amenities that we see might be common spaces like parks, or even some different subdivisions might have a common area with a pool, a clubhouse, a playground, all of those different things. For a lot of people, having other kids for their kids to play with in the area can be a big advantage of being inside a subdivision. The second thing that we want to look at is access. What does it take to access the land and to access the building site where you want to have the house? When it gets to raw land, this can vary. Sometimes we have to have trees removed in order to create an access point. Sometimes we have to be able to bring in dirt or stone in order to build a solid driveway to get to the point where you want to be able to build the home. This cost can definitely vary on raw land. Sometimes even with raw land, one of the setbacks for a driveway or access could be the distance from the edge of the road into the piece of property. I've seen driveways even 200-300 feet on land that's being developed. On the countryside, we look at the subdivision. So often, access is pre-planned out by the developer for each lot. So we know where the driveway is going to be placed, and we know where the building site will be on that specific piece of property. There's oftentimes a little bit more ease and convenience when it comes to getting access in a subdivision lot versus raw land. The third thing that we want to take a look at as we go through this process is drainage. Drainage is something that most of us don't really give a lot of thought to. However, if we're not careful and if drainage isn't taken care of, we really need to be able to have a place for that water to go after a heavy rain. And if we haven't already created that place oftentimes is the lowest point, which can be our basement. So a few things that we want to look at on the drainage side when it comes to raw land. Number one, grading that land. Really creating drainage up and away from a building site. In some cases, it's even bringing in more fill dirt in order to make the building site higher so that water can drain away. Also, sometimes we have to remove trees or even dig a retention pond, depending on what that raw land looks like and what the topography and existing drainage is for that specific site. When we start to look at a subdivision, drainage is often factored in from the very beginning. They're usually looking at the drainage splitting from the road and everything draining into the storm sewer from there. As long as we're seeing a steady pitch towards the road, most of our subdivision lots aren't going to have a lot of problems with drainage. As a matter of fact, they were subdivided with drainage in mind. Having the infrastructure of the storm sewers is often something too that can give an advantage to a subdivision lot when it comes to what we have to pay for drainage. Number 4, and this is another big one, is utility access. When we start to look at a subdivision lot, we can oftentimes see utilities right at the road, and there's a shorter distance to hook those utilities to the house. When it comes to a piece of raw land, then oftentimes we have to look at where those utilities are and then look at the cost of getting them to our building site. We also want to be able to look at what is available. Is there a city sewer? Is there a water main in the area? If not, we have to look at the process of developing a well and creating a septic field on that piece of land. In the end, when it looks at a septic field, we could have a traditional field or an engineered field, which can also affect the cost of that system. The other thing we want to know is where's the closest point of electricity and how do we help to bring that in to power the house. Last but not least, we want to know where is the gas main. Is it close? And if not, do we have to look at switching to a propane or alternative system in order to run some of the functions of the home? When we start to look at a subdivision lot, depending on the subdivision, a lot of times these same questions exist. However, the developer has put those utilities close to the road so that they're easy to connect into the lot. Not every subdivision, however, is going to have sewers and water mains as well. Some of them will also run well and septic. And quite often at that stage, the builder has already perked that piece of land. For those that aren't aware, a perk test is a test of the land to determine how well the soil drains. If the soil isn't draining well, then we have to look at an engineered field for that specific piece of property. Usually this has been determined, or as the developer has subdivided the lots and they've already decided where is going to be the best place for the septic field on those lots. Last but not least, price. Price is absolutely one of the differentiators. And although there's a lot that goes into price, typically the difference in pricing is going to be a higher price when we look at the subdivision lot versus the raw land, as long as we're looking at the same size. But why, Nick? Why is that subdivision lot more expensive? The reason why is because all those utilities are close and the cost of the hookups will be diminished because of the distance they're going to have to travel. Versus the raw land, the cost to develop that lot further is usually going to increase. So without those things already being taken care of, dollar for dollar, pound for pound, we typically see a higher dollar per square foot in the subdivision lot versus the raw land. However, the raw land typically has a higher development cost, as it does not have all those utilities as ready and accessible in every single case. I hope you found some value in this video, and I hope you have a better understanding now of how to choose between raw land or a subdivision lot. Please like and subscribe so you can stay informed when I put out new content. Also, if you would like more information about building your dream home or finding one, I would love to talk to you. Feel free to contact me with my information in the description below. Thank you for watching.